This game was awesome. This game was awesome. And this game was awesome. And this game was awesome. And, this game was awesome. Hell yeah.
Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. And it's finally that time. One of my favorite videos to make during the end of the year is, of course, my top 10 best video games of 2025. There were so many games to come out, so much, in fact, that I was kind of in a rush to get all these games finished in order to do my best games of the year because there were so many games coming out by the end of the year. I am so happy that I was able to review almost all of them for you guys, because despite the fact that, as always, there was controversy and the fact that, video game prices have gone up like crazy, especially for Nintendo, it didn't really hide the fact that there were still so many great games to play. Yes, you kind of needed like a little fortune in order to play all of these, unless you had Game Pass, but then again, most people canceled their Game Pass subscription due to prices going up for that. But nonetheless, this isn't really the time to talk about drama. This is the time to talk about what I thought were the best games to come out this year. These were the games that I had the most fun with, ones that I was the most engaged with, and just all around being the games that I will remember for a really long time. In terms of games coming out this year that I'll remember like in the next 10 years or so. These were the games that just spoke to me, the ones that, I felt like, managed to make a big impact on me, and these were the games that just had me going, yes, I want to finish this. And as always, this is just my own personal list. You're not going to agree with everything. Like, if you're wondering, why is this game harder than that one? Why is this game lower than this one? This is a list about opinions, not facts. This was probably the year where I have reviewed the most games to come out this year. There were nearly 20 games that I reviewed on this channel, a few of which aren't even going to be on here, but nonetheless, let's have some fun here. Here are my picks for the top 10 best video games to come out in 2025. There were so many games, in fact, that there were nearly 10 honorable mentions, which of course I'm going to bring up right now, which are Doom: The Dark Ages, Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4, The Outer Worlds 2, Borderlands 4, Mario Kart World, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment, Metroid Prime 4, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. I know, you're probably shocked that KCD 2 isn't on the list. I think it is a great game, but there were just 10 other games that I enjoyed a little bit more. I know so many people were pissed because it didn't win any awards at the Game of the Year Awards. If I were to rank it, it would definitely be a number 11 spot. But hey, I think it's a great game. But these 10 games, I personally just enjoy them a little bit more. Again, it's just my own personal list. But anyways, with all that being said, let's get started. We're starting things off at number 10 with the creepiest game to come out this year, Silent Hill F. Silent Hill was in a very, very bad place during the previous years, and we thought it would never make a return, but thanks to the success of the Silent Hill 2 remake and the fact that this is a new original project in the Silent Hill franchise taking place in a Japanese setting, I felt like it really managed to work. It's atmospheric, the setting is amazing, the graphics are incredible. One of my biggest criticisms with the game, however, is the gameplay. It has like a Souls-like vibe to it, but it does feel clunky at times. But hey, the story and the narrative and the fear is definitely what made it, a must-play for fans of the franchise. It truly proves that Silent Hill can still be scary if given to people who truly understand what made the franchise great in the first place. It's been a great decade for Silent Hill so far, and I cannot wait to see what's up next. Of course, there's the remake to the original Silent Hill, but in the meantime, this is definitely a great one to continue on if you're a longtime fan. At number 9, we have a sequel to one of the best PS4 exclusives ever, and this being one of the best PS5 exclusives ever in recent memory, though by recent I mean by a few years. Ghost of Yotai definitely did not disappoint, as you play as a different protagonist known as Atsu, who is trying to get revenge after her family has been massacred. Of course, it's a very basic plot, but hey, so is Ghost of Tsushima. But the narrative is always what managed to keep this game going for me, and the gameplay itself. It manages to combine these two things perfectly, and Sucker Punch definitely deserve a lot of praise for what they managed to do, especially with its graphical enhancements. The world is great, the combat, it is all fluent and vibrant, especially with the amount of arsenals that it manages to give you. It manages to really pay off. I didn't like it as much as the first game, though this game definitely did things a bit better than Tsushima, but nonetheless, I still think both games are definitely worth playing through. Coming in at number 8 is a game that has kind of flown under the rug ever since its release, especially since it did gain some controversy for some of its updates, but I don't care. I had a great time with Monster Hunter Wilds. Yes, it's not quite as good as the previous versions. Yes, it's not as challenging as the previous versions, but nonetheless, this game, it was just so great to return to the Monster Hunter world and giving me exactly what I want to see when it comes to fighting monsters and crafting weapons, and some of the characters I thought were actually quite interesting. Yes, the story isn't going to win anyone over, but again, it's more focused on, action-packed gameplay. Of course, with the arsenal of weapons it manages to bring in, it always feels like, there's something that can bring players in when it comes to the amount of weapons that it has, which one will work best against certain monsters, and which one will suit you best throughout your journey. You might think that, it's just the same as the previous games, which, yeah, it kind of is. But it didn't hide the fact that, I played this game for fun, and it managed to give me fun. Yes, I struggled a few times, but it's best played with people online, and that's exactly what it manages to bring in. Friends having a fun time, and I managed to have a really fun time with this one. Speaking of friends having a fun time, my pick for the best multiplayer game, I was kind of surprised it was given to Arc Raiders. I never played it, but hey, my pick for best multiplayer game of the year is Split Fiction. This was truly a breath of fresh air for platformers, and the fact that, the people who made It Takes Two really managed to expand on, bringing in their library of games into the mix of cooperative experiences. And with this game, the fact that, both of these characters are so memorable and manage to have great lines of dialogue, great personalities, and manage to have emotion to them. The fact that you combine two different worlds and the fact that it always feels like it changes, especially with the gameplay. Me and my friend had a really fun time with this one. The gameplay never feels old, it never feels repetitive, it always manages to do something new when it comes to its gameplay. It was just all around a delightful time. Never did the puzzles feel tedious or frustrating. There was never a time where we had to look something up. It managed to be a game that both me and my friend managed to get past. And the best part about it is you just have to pay for the game once. You don't need another copy of the game to play online. You can play it for free, and that's exactly why I think this is one of the best AA games to come out. Just like with It Takes Two, this is a great game to play with your friend. Both you and him or her are going to absolutely love it. I guarantee it. I miss Telltale games, and this game heavily reminds me of a time where Telltale took over the story game-driven market. And the fact that some people behind Telltale managed to bring a new form of a story-driven game to life, being Dispatch. You love superheroes? Who doesn't love superheroes? This game takes a different approach on the superhero genre, and the fact that, the main character isn't always fighting. And with Dispatch, it manages to have a very heavy-driven story about this man trying to wind down a bit and just have other people go out and try to save the world. And it has a great amount of characters that I really found myself engaged with. I would have liked some of the characters to be on screen more often, but hey, I really enjoyed Robert Robertson's storyline and exactly what the movie managed to tell when it comes to its story, from its cinematics to its tactical gameplay of, finding the right heroes to bring out for the missions and whatnot. I love this game so much. I hope there's a season 2, and with how big it's become, we're definitely going to get that. The voice acting's top notch. The humor is spot on. It never manages to feel like there's a dull moment. And each episode manages to go by pretty fast, which I wouldn't mind if some of them lasted at least 2 hours. But still, nonetheless, this is definitely worth your money and your time if you love story-driven games and animated superhero shows in general. My next entry is a sequel to a game that was good, but this game manages to make that game feel like it was absolutely nothing. This is the main course right here, Death Stranding 2. I went in with as low expectation as possible because as much as I enjoyed Death Stranding, it has flaws. But this is exactly what I feel that game should have been. It expands upon its story and its lore. And yes, while the gameplay is relatively the same in terms of going from one area to the next in order to deliver, and for some people, that is a bit of an annoyance, but it manages to make up for it for some really excellent gameplay that will heavenly remind you of the Phantom Pain. It's as if this was a long-awaited sequel to that, rather than, just Death Stranding. But it feels like a combination of both, because we all miss Metal Gear Solid, and this game manages to bring in the gameplay as well as the emotion of the characters in terms of the story it brings into the mix. I love the characters, I love the world, I love the scope. It's one of the best PS5 games of the year. And the game was so good, Hideo Kojima wanted to change things up, that way it wouldn't be loved by everyone, but rather have some divisive elements, which I understand, but hey, as long as the game is still incredible and worthy of being one of the best games to come out this year, then, and this game definitely managed to do that. I absolutely had a great time with this game, and chances are, if you're a fan of the first game, this game will not disappoint whatsoever. We're probably never going to get Half-Life 3, we're probably not going to get Kingdom Hearts 4 anytime soon. There have been a lot of games that have been in development hell for quite some time. Well, this next entry wasn't technically in development hell. It just took a really long time for it to come out. But hey, people can finally take the clown makeup off as we finally got Hollow Knight Silksong, and it was definitely worth the wait. Yes, it's harder. Yes, there are some annoying things in the game. But it's still an incredible game that I feel like was definitely worth it. The challenge it manages to bring never really shies away from actually wanting to try and get better. Yes, if you do have a PC, you can mod it out to, make it a little bit more bearable for you, which is understandable because there are some annoying things about this game that, yes, I was annoyed by, but managed to get past them. I honestly enjoyed playing as Hornet just a bit more than the character from the first game. Both characters are very memorable, but Hornet managed to bring more of a vibe to this world, especially with the creative art direction and the new ways of fighting off against enemies, with the items that you get, as well as the new skills it manages to bring in. The bosses are challenging, but managed to be a lot of fun, and this was all around a game that I feel like managed to really pay off. Some people may be disappointed by the challenge, but it doesn't hide the fact that this game managed to do so much right that I was truly satisfied in the end. Of course, this year was the debut of the Nintendo Switch 2, which gained controversy for its price, but there were still so many good games to come out for the system, and by far the best one, in my opinion, was Donkey Kong Bonanza. I was kind of hoping it would be Metroid Prime 4, but hey, I enjoyed that game. But Donkey Kong Bonanza was where it's at. Love Mario Odyssey? Well, the makers of that managed to bring Donkey Kong back to life in a full new 3D adventure where you can literally destroy anything you want. This was honestly the perfect game if you were frustrated with real life. Just beat the crap out of everything that's in your way and hopefully find a banana or another collectible, because it was so much fun trying to, find the various bananas. I did not want to continue on until I got all the bananas in each world. This game really managed to bring in a vibe that just brought so much joy without having to rely on too much challenge. And I like the dynamic duo that is Pauline, young Pauline, and DK. The bonanzas that you get in terms of changing from different animals feels so much fun. It feels very fresh for this franchise. And the fact that we haven't gotten too many Donkey Kong games in previous memory, it just shows how much love was put into this game. It's nice to see DK back, and this was truly the best adventure that he has had in quite some time. There was also DLC, which I heard wasn't really anything special, but all I really need is the base game because it gave me more than enough content to want to spend hours just trying to get every single banana. Just like DK64, it's going to be impossible, but it's a lot of fun, and I can say it's absolutely worth it. Okay, we're at the top 2. What's it going to be? Well, I feel like if I mention this entry, then it's going to be pretty obvious what number 1 is going to be, but you already know what number 1 is going to be. So, Hades 2. In my opinion, the best video game sequel to come out this year. I thought the first game was already perfect, but how do you manage to make a sequel even more perfect than its predecessor? Well, how about the fact that, you play as someone different, but manages to have a lot more to her character, Malinois, sister of the protagonist of the last game, Zagreus. And with this game, it manages to expand more the fact that there are multiple locations to explore, as well as new ways of playing in terms of the arsenal of weapons, and the fact that there's a lot more to unlock, whether it being, different skills to use, different items that you need in order to lock certain parts of the storyline. It really manages to expand upon its predecessor in every single way. The bosses feel more challenging and more engaging to go up against. The art style, just like the first game, as well as the music, it is absolutely phenomenal. Supergiant Games learned from their predecessor, which they didn't really need to because that game was already terrific. But this game makes that game just feel like it was just the beginning. This is by far one of the best video game franchises to come out this decade, this generation, and I can't wait for this game to come out on all systems so everybody can play it. It has everything that you could have wanted from a video game sequel, and it was all around a work of art. Supergiant Games definitely outdid themselves with this one. Okay, I think it was obvious what number one was going to be because it has topped so many people's lists, and yes, it swept away at the Game Awards. That pretty much gave it away. But of course, it's got to be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game I knew nothing about until it actually released. And oh man, this game makes me wish that more AAA games could learn from it. Expedition 33 is not just a great game, it's a work of art. And that's the best way to describe this game. It is art. It takes the turn-based style of, older classic games from Final Fantasy and manages to put a different spin on it. From parrying to dodging, it never feels like it gets old. With the amount of character build, it manages to be a modern game that checks off all the boxes of what we want to see. Characters, amazing. Story, phenomenal. Graphics, scope. It tricks you in thinking that it's a AAA game when really it's a AA game. Like, I did not know that because despite the fact that the game is $50 and it has a whole lot of content, this was made on a company of just 50 people as far as I'm aware of, and that makes it even more impressive. And the music, oh man, I cannot stop thinking about how good the music is. It just manages to get stuck in my head over and over that I want the soundtrack. It's one of the most memorable video game soundtracks I've ever heard. The fact that there was just so much talent in this, from the writing, it never feels old or cliche, and the fact that it doesn't always have to rely on telling its story and just explaining things too early, but having you think, and when it actually gives you answers, it makes it even more of a delight, because this game just feels so original when it comes to its gameplay, as well as what it manages to bring in terms of it feeling fresh. And the fact that it is in a much more different perspective in French culture, it makes it even more of a delight to get through. The fact that, it has so much of that French vibe to it that, it has you thinking more. And it was something that I feel like they were definitely proud of. And not to mention, it broke the record for most awards given at the Game Awards, as it won 9 awards, including Best Indie Game, Best Debut Indie Game, Best Video Game Performance being Jennifer English as Mayel, Best RPG, Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Best Narrative, Best Game Direction, and of course, Game of the Year. Some people were annoyed that, not many other games were given a chance, which I understand, but that does not mean that the game is bad. It never really affects the game's quality because so much hard work was put into this game, and the fact that we hardly ever get games like this. And to top it all off, just like the previous Game of the Year winner, Astrobot, this game has DLC added in for free. That alone shows how much these people love their players and want to give them an experience that actually feels finished while adding in new things that you don't even have to pay a penny for. I shouldn't really bring up pennies because, well, that's a long story, but the bottom line is, this is a work of art. It's the game that spoke to me the most. It's the game that has impacted me the most. And I'm currently working on another playthrough of it to try and get the Platinum Trophy on PlayStation 5. This was all around a delightful game. There are many reasons why people have been gushing about it. There's many reasons why it won so many awards, because we just don't get games like this. We need more games like this. And I miss when games actually try putting effort into them. Sandfall Interactive has really outdone themselves. They should be proud of this work of art they managed to bring this year. and it was all around the best game that I've played this year, and I know that I'm not alone on that. It's a cliche choice, but do you want me to lie? Because I'm not lying when I say I absolutely love this game, and you should definitely play it at least once in your life. Even if you're not a fan of turn-based RPGs, it's still worth playing through, and who knows, maybe it might make you think differently about most turn-based RPGs. Probably not, but you still need to give this game a chance. And that is it. Those are my picks for the best games to come out this year. Again, this was just my list. I know it wasn't the most original list, but hey, let me know down below, what were your top 10 favorites, or what was your favorite game of the year in general? Let me know down in the comments. We can discuss it. And yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Look forward, because the best movies of 2025 list will be out probably in the beginning of January, because it's one of those things where I want to make sure that I see every single movie I want to see before making that list. Just look out for that. It will be up, as well as, you know, the skit compilation in terms of all the skits that I made this year. So look out for that, as well as the monthly vlog as usual. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Blue Sky. Links are in the description. And I'll see you guys later. Word out.